Welcome to the Coffee Break Show. My name is Vickie Helm, and today we are going to talk about something that is really, really important to succeeding, and that is how to succeed in uncertainty. But first, we always have to listen to the music. I'll see you in a minute. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to the Coffee Break Show. It's brought to you by Metadine Digital Network, where you can see live shows all the time, all week long. Listen, today, the guest of my show, this is 2 weeks in a row. You know, we're in the middle of this pandemic, and it's interesting. In the pandemic, there have been a lot of people who have gotten sick or, been sick, and they haven't been able to hit the show on time. And sometimes we don't know till the last minute that they're not feeling well because they were feeling well fine the next day. So you have to have a little bit of flexibility. Now, lucky for me, I've gone through 2019 when the pandemic started in China all the way through right now. And I haven't lost a guest. And in the last 2 weeks, two guests have been sick. And so, things are how they are. And that's what we're going to be moving forward. So today I was like, okay, what do I want to talk about? Well, this is one of the things I wanted to talk about. I wanted to share with you what 3 things you can do to succeed in uncertainty. And that is, and I really probably have a few more, like 4. I actually made some quick notes for me. But one of the things that is really striking right now is that keeping commitments is a big deal. Keeping commitments that you have is one of the ways that you can succeed. But here's the thing. If there's flexibility in your commitments, if you have flexibility, like you'll step in the show at the last minute, or like yesterday and today, we are having wicked windstorms. And I know I look grainy to a lot of people right now, and the internet is kind of wonky over here, but we are having severe windstorms. We have like 65-mile-an-hour winds, and so I'm like, okay, this is what you have to have, flexibility. It doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing has to be perfect, but it does have to be consistent. Your actions are consistent regardless of what's happening. So if you have a show like I do, you want to have a backup topic just like that, because you don't know what's going to happen. So I have had people on the show as a guest, and they had a storm and it knocked out their power right in the middle of the conversation. And so you have to kind of connect or carry on. That's the thing with being live. Live isn't syndicated. Live is authentic. It's real. It's here. It's now. It's in the moment. And you don't know what that moment is going to bring you. And sometimes when you have that moment, you actually have to get to the point where you are ready and even not ready for whatever happened. I mean, you just don't know. So tip number 1 is really that you're going to be flexible, that you can step in for opportunities. If somebody gets sick and somebody says, hey, let me get you in right now, go right in, right then, right there. And then the second thing is you want to keep your commitments to your work. And that means if you're supposed to be a guest on a show, you want to give the show more notice if you're not able to make it, if you're sick, or if you're on a podcast, or if you are on the podcast, you want to make sure that they have the best show ever if you're the guest that's on there. If you're the person that is going to be, taking the wheel of their show, you want to make sure that you give them the best of the best of you 100% of the time. And that is something that you actually have to plan for as well, because if you want to be an A player or somebody who's trying to create more authority, more influence, more sales, more leads, people who win, people who are winners have a certain kind of vibe about themselves. They have a certain, way. It's like, okay, they know how to feel the fear and do it anyway. So we have had such an incredibly weird week that It's just one of those weeks that was weird. It just happens. It just happens in every business. You're sailing along, things are growing, and sometimes the week goes whoom and you're up, and sometimes the week goes flat. Sometimes there's nothing in your business that is going to be daily the same thing over and over and over again. That's not what's here. And so you want to be able to be flexible, awake, and alive, and you want to pull the winner out of you. Okay, so if there's something that's hurting your feelings, or something that's on your mind, or something that happened in your business life that you didn't want to have happen, or maybe you have people who have, you know, done something different than they normally do, you get to the point where you can change or do or be in any state you choose to be. And sometimes that's not as easy. It's easier said than done. So, for instance, I've had big stresses before I went on and did a show. And in those big stresses, I know this broadcast is having a hard time staying on right now because of the internet, because of the windstorm. The windstorm took down part of the tower that brings the signal to the show. And I'm thinking, okay, well, what are you going to do? You're going to keep doing it. You're doing your best work regardless. Now, we're in uncertainty, and winners win. That's all I know. Winners win, losers lose. And it sounds all the time like that's such a Jim Rohn thing to say, and maybe such a hustle and grind thing to say. But it's true. Winners have a state of winner inside them. And that's the choice you get to make when you're working with something, when you're doing something. If you get to the point where you realize you can manage your state, you can manage this over and over and over again, you end up doing your best work. Now, I want to talk about working through fear, because working through fear, I don't care what entrepreneur you are. I don't care how much money you're making. I don't care what it is your products are, your services are, your clients are. Every business owner has to learn to work through fear, not work through your own personal fears. I mean, deliver quality work while you're feeling fearful. And they always tell you, there's this thing where they always tell you that you have you have a uh, a certain personality, and when you feel fear has a tendency to hold someone back, and you get to the point where you're worried about a thought, really, is what you're worried about. You're worried about, hey, Peter, nice to see you on. I see you guys popping on. And, amen to that. Courage is not the lack of fear, it's doing it anyway. Now, whatever circumstances are there. Now, I've had friends who had to work and perform and do well and give their best while they were going through a divorce. And could you imagine how that might feel for someone? How scary that might feel? And they're feeling that fear and thinking, I don't want to go through that. And they're doing it anyway, pulling the winner out of themselves. I've had people who have gotten on, like I did an interview with Joe Vitale after I attended the funeral of my father dying. And I actually did the the show because it was such a great opportunity to interview him. He's such a great man, and he said yes to me. And in that show, even though I had experienced the death of my father, I was or my dad was, laid to rest that day. He still came on with me and he still did the show with me. And I wanted it to be a good show. And I think, lucky for me, my father would have expected that as well. There are days you get on where you feel fear, you feel hurt, you feel whatever you feel, and you want to do it anyway. The thing for me is, I don't want anyone's state of consciousness, just a state of consciousness, to control me. So the second I feel fear or anger or uncertainty or whatever, I understand that 98% of that is the thought I'm thinking. And one of the hardest things to do, I think the real work that somebody does is to stop yourself in that thought and actually challenge it and challenge that thought. We have a tendency to label ourselves and create an identity for ourselves that is unhealthy. So, what is your identity? What is your identity in the world? Are you an identity of somebody who is an overachiever, a winner, as somebody who succeeds? Is that who you see yourself as? Do you see yourself as somebody, whatever identity you hold for yourself, that's the life you live? Are you quiet? Are you exuberant? To me, I want my identity to be that I can step into any situation and show up as me. And part of that means wherever you are, whether it's uncertainty is all we have right now. I want to tell you something. It's like the old traditional is dying and dead. And guess what? There is no repeating this. There is no new normal. There's no new normal. There is constant change right now, and it feels like constant chaos with constant change and constant things going. And maybe that you could see that as, well, constant change is the new norm. But the fact that it's changing over and over and over means there is no new normal. So, to me, the strongest thing you can do, the biggest tip I can get you to succeed with today is, what do you identify as? What is the concept of yourself that you hold of you? Because that's going to determine what your actions are. And yes, you can read a bajillion things about what other people think, about what other people are doing, all of those things. You can think about that. And you still have to come up with, who do you want to be? Who do you want to show up as in this world? And one of the things is, you take responsibility for yourself when you say that and do that. Big time responsibility for yourself, because the truth is, when you say, what concept do I want to be? You're not outsourcing your concept to somebody else. You're suddenly insourcing it and saying, who is it that I want to become? And you have to know that you're like that piece of clay. You can be molded, you can change, you can have whatever you want. You can have all these things that you want to do. And the concept you hold of yourself, there has to be some skill sets that match that concept. So, for example, if I say I'm a winner, well, then I have to continue having winner feelings, winner thoughts. And that means when I don't have them, I better have a skill set right then and there that I can use at my fingertips to put me back in the state of the concept that I want to be in this world, doing it over and over and over and over and over and over again until you become that, until you embody that, until that is just who you are. And that happens with repetition. It happens with practice. It happens with you being able to do that all the time. This is the power of consistency. So that consistency, you do it over and over and over again. So, right now I'm about to release my 41st book, which I'm really excited about. But about 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, I was not a good writer. I could barely write an article, and I wrote every single day. I still write every single day. I'm writing something every single day. But the habit of writing every single day, that concept of Vickie Helm is an author, not is a writer of one book. I'm an author. I penned one piece of work. So what? Pen another piece of work. And so when you're a writer, you write. That's what you do over and over and over and over again. So the concept of myself was, I'm a best-selling author, I'm a best-selling writer. I'm really skilled at writing, and I had to create that skill. So you do it over and 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 over again. And it doesn't matter if you look at Grant Cardone, the guy's a billionaire. He still makes videos every single day. He's still selling every single day. He still remains in the skill set of the concepts he holds of himself. So if you say, everybody loves to say, I'm an entrepreneur, and that's great. But they think of the word entrepreneur and they don't realize the roller coaster ride that being an entrepreneur is. It is looking at opportunities and hoping that, the opportunity you have is going to flower and go. And sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it has great intentions and it starts growing, 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 and then it withers. And sometimes you got to get to the point where you think about, what business do I want to have? What do I want to represent in the world? All of those identities, all of those concepts, all of those things that you hold about yourself, those are the things that are going to help you succeed in uncertainty. Now, on the opposite of that, all the unhealthy things that you hold about yourself, all your poverty mentality and stinking thinking and those other things, they're going to be battling and having a power struggle as you move from this place and take all this negativity that you're feeling and moving it to positivity. Now, I don't mean toxic positivity. I mean you challenging yourself, calling yourself out in the middle of your uncertainty and saying, yes, I'm feeling fear. And if you ask yourself, what's my next best step? And the sentence that comes out of your mouth is, I don't know. It's because you're not listening to you. You're listening to a toxic thought that isn't you and believing that it is you. You are whatever you say to yourself. You become whatever you think about yourself. You have with you whatever you conceive of yourself to be. And that is the number one way that we can go ahead and succeed in uncertainty. So if I say to myself, my identity is, no matter where I am, no matter how stressed out, no matter what happens, I can always hear the divine tell me what to do. I can always listen to my gut. I can always hear that. And so sometimes when we're so stressed out, we sit in our brain and we only hear this. This is the only thing we hear. And we can't move forward and we believe the toxic thinking that's happening. But you know what? Everyone has problem solving skills. That's kind of the nature, the beast of being human. Somewhere along the way, we have had problem solving skills that created us from this, what, Cro-Magnon man till now. And all they've done is solve problems. How do I get my food if I have to hunt? Well, now I'm creating a spear. Now I'm creating a knife. Now I'm creating running. Now I'm creating a trap. All along, we have been taking care of ourselves and problem solving since the beginning of time. The only difference is problem solving has gotten really, really easy. We have the internet. We have access to more knowledge, more how-tos, more things than we've ever had in our life. So we have a tendency to look outward and go, I'm going to go to YouTube to solve this problem. And maybe that's the right answer. But sometimes the right answer isn't on YouTube. The right answer comes through you. You have the same skill of problem solving in the moment. What should happen, except you get to trust yourself, except when you have your own gut feeling, you have to trust you to take that next step. And that's the whole thing with uncertainty. Uncertainty doesn't say, here's the path. We used to say back in the day that if you got good grades and you went to college and you got a degree, you could have a better life. And it was etched in stone. When I graduated from college, I graduated with a degree in accounting. And there were, at my graduation, before I graduated, like 2 weeks before I graduated, there were there were 8 accounting firms that were already out there recruiting those of us that graduated. That's how certain the path was. And now that path isn't there anymore. That way isn't there anymore. You have to trust your gut. There's some people who are like at 6 or 7 years old going, I know I want to be an internet star, or they want to make their YouTube channel, or they want to have a funnel business, or they want to have their own entrepreneurial dream, and they're not very excited about going to college. And that promise of college isn't there anymore. When you graduate college, that's a potential. It's not a promise anymore. And so that uncertainty button can be pushed like Am I doing the right thing? Am I, wasting this money? Am I, getting a degree? Am I? Uncertainty means that sometimes the answer isn't out there on the internet in any kind of form. Sure, you can read books or articles, but the thing is, the concept of you that you hold in yourself is going to tell you what your next move is. And if you only listen to your mind during that time, if you only listen to what you're thinking, you will find that you will not be able to make the next best step. Sometimes that gut check, when you check into that gut check, if it says yes and you're fearful and you're like, but I shouldn't, because no, I don't want to. And I want to tell you, I make this mistake all the time. I have to catch myself when I hear yes, when I hear something that I don't like from the divine, like, let this person go, or drop this business now, or stop doing this. And I want to argue with what the divine is telling me, or I want to argue with my gut feeling or my intuition. I always get thrown off. And fear happens because your mind comes on and says something toxic. But the concept I hold of myself can bring me back to center. And I think to myself, what skill sets do I have right now to pull me out of this unnecessary trauma that I am placing on myself by stinking thinking, and bring me back to center and say, look, this is what you have. You have problem solving skills. You have all these things already. Keep going. Listen in. And sometimes when you listen in, your mind is chattering at a mile a minute. But, and they didn't, she didn't, hey, the blah, 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 blah. And it just goes on and on and on. Unfortunate things happen to good people. Scary things happen to good people. Stressful things happen to good people. All along, you will experience these things as you're trying to make a difference in the world. You'll experience right now your business not going well, your business doing really great, your business and you stepping forward, your life and your relationships. They're going to have ebbs of up and down and up and down. Nothing is stasis. There's no balance of perfect anything. So when you get to that point, who's in charge? Who's in charge of what happens in your life? Who is in charge of what you can do? Is it you, or is it your stinking thinking? Is it your gut check that comes in, your intuition? Is it the concept you hold to yourself that says, no, I'm a winner. I am not going to succumb to somebody else's opinion of me or whatever they think? What is it that you are going to do to keep yourself centered on your mission, on your vision, on your purpose, on what you want in life, and how and who you want to become? And let me tell you, you are always going to be becoming. If you're a true entrepreneur, if you're truly an entrepreneur, there is a part of you that is married to self-development, that is married to improving, because the purpose of entrepreneurship, in my opinion, is to create quality of life for others, to really solve problems for others, and to profit from creating quality of life for others and creating wonderful opportunities for others. That's where the profit comes from doing that. And in order to develop other people's quality of life, you have to develop your quality of life first. You have to be the person that you want to be first. Who is that? What do you do? How do you do it? What are you about? And here's the thing, we don't pick just one thing. I'm about this and I'm about this only, because you're growing. And believe it or not, you can outgrow any concept of yourself. You can outgrow any experience of yourself. You can outgrow any business you've developed. You can outgrow anything. It is a continuous journey. Hey, MJ, nice to see you, my friend. I am looking forward to Friday and saying hi to you. Welcome. So, what I want to make sure everyone knows is, no matter where you are or what you do, it's not about having a perfect life because right now we have an ever changing life and you don't know what you don't know. Right now, I have a dear friend, a Facebook friend, who is battling cancer in the most uplifting way I have ever seen in my life. She's been so vulnerable with us. She even had a shave my head party where she was online with us all and played music and everything else and shaved her head. And she is an absolutely inspiring, beautiful, amazing woman. But the concept she holds of herself is I am an overcomer. I am somebody who can problem solve. I'm going to be an inspiration to other people. I'm going to be absolutely open with everybody. And so she has been on with her partner, Christina and Furley, sharing their experience of what it's like to go through chemo and what it's like to overcome her illness. And she has been out there with everyone. I'm not saying it's easy. She has chemotherapy and she had COVID. She caught COVID while having chemotherapy. And she said, not everything goes perfect. This is absolutely a bump in the road, but you get to choose. You get to choose how you're going to tackle that problem. That's the whole thing that's so important right now. You get to choose how you're going to respond. And a lot of people respond in that knee jerk reaction. They respond with habit. They respond over and over and over and over and over again. So when you get to the point where you feel fear or you feel excitement or you feel whatever you're feeling about some certain thing, yeah, this it's about having a fulfilled life. Yes, and having a fulfilled life doesn't mean everything is perfect, perfect, perfect. Yes, this is, thank you, MJ. This is really good. Resilient in adversity. Resilient in adversity. So change is the name of the game. And I told you, I think it was last March, I told you about I was going to do a transformation online so that everybody could see it. And everybody's been watching, everybody's been following, everybody's been seeing what I do, not just with my physical health, not just with physical changes, but with business changes. With everything about that, I try to be as much of an open book as I can so that I can help others take that quantum leap from this place to this place. I want to tell you something, no matter where you are, no matter what's happening to you, you got this. You got this, not because the Lord said you are going to, I'm never going to give you more than you can handle. No, because you have God given problem solving, intuitive direction markers inside you. And whatever concept you hold of yourself, whatever your identity shift is, that's the thing you want to pay attention to. Who are you becoming? Not what's happening to me. Look at what's happening to me. I'm just getting beat up. Who are you becoming? You can be beat up or an overcomer. And right now, resilience is the key. And resilience is going to be for the next 10 decades. Like if we had a word of the year, Sarah Morrison, every year in January, she puts out a word of the year. This is her word of the year. And like hundreds and hundreds of people share their word of the year. And resilience came up quite a bit. So I want to let you know, no matter what happens, you got this. You can go ahead and have whatever you want in this world by shifting into becoming the person who can do that. Skill sets and attitude shifting and action. You want to take that work, make those actions, and harbor the best part of you as your leader. The leader of you is the best part of you, not the worst part of you, but the best part of you. Thank you for joining me. That's the Coffee Break Show today. Next week, if my guest is well and healthy, we'll have a guest on. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.